Alright, good morning everybody. I hope you're doing okay. I'm okay. So, Christian Porter's failed to respond, hasn't he? Jackie Lambie, silence of the Lambie, she went silent the moment she stood up and asked for a whistleblower. So, Jackie, your theatrics, merely basically what they are, theatrics. You meant nothing. You meant absolutely zero when you said that you asked for a whistleblower. A whistleblower scared your pants off so much you went silent. Andrew Wilkie, why haven't you left office yet? You've been advised that you're under an oath of allegiance foreign to the Constitution Act, yet you remain in office. And Jackie Lambie, you've said nothing to Andrew Wilkie, have you? Jackie Lambie, you went silent. And then Christian Porter, you're the Attorney General. You're responsible to rule of law. Anybody that challenges your rule of law, you're supposed to step up in that parliament and defend it. No one raised Andrew Wilkie's failure to Section 44 before the parliament. Why aren't you defending rule of law? Christian Porter, you know why. We already know why. You shut down the seat of government in 1973 and the rule of law you hold in your hand is foreign to this Commonwealth. You know damn well that's why you told both of your staff at the Perth office and the staff at Canberra not to talk to Stephen Spires. Why'd you tell your staff not to talk to me, Christian? Eventually you're going to have to address this. Eventually you're going to have to address this point of law. Andrew Wilkie's under a foreign oath of allegiance. Jackie Lambie was asked to use her parliamentary privilege to bring it before the parliament under Section 44 and you were advised very clearly of this problem. Yet you all went silent, didn't you? Kind of amusing, isn't it? You all went silent. So everybody, what does that prove to you? They shut the seat of government down in 1973 and whatever's been running this country since 1973 isn't you. It's a foreign power. It's come here to administer a debt and it is the United Nations. It follows every rule of the United Nations because it's an overseas power being managed by an overseas power. So Christian Porter won't tell any of you this. So what are we going to do about it? Well, the first step is to get out a red flag and show this government you came home. You know who you are now. And they can get their Blue Admiralty flag and take it back to the harbour and see our dockmaster. That's what this government should be doing, is removing itself from our land. Because it operates under a Blue Admiralty flag that's not to be flown on land here according to King George V. So we're allowing a sea vessel to run our government. So we step back into our flag and fly that. And the reason they're here is financial. They issued you with the Reserve Bank. They gave you the International Monetary Fund in 1947 and the Reserve Bank in 1959. And when your silver currency went into demise in the Currency Act 1965, they kicked all of that into play full time. In 1973, when they shut down the seat of government, this government has been running a credit system on you ever since. It's not even your government, given that it shut down the seat of government in 1973 so that it could be there. You have to think what allowed it to shut down the seat of government. And that's the silver in your hands, not government's hands. You're the one reliant on the RBA because you're the one not paying your fellow man properly with the silver and the gold. The Constitution 115 says that a state shall not coin money and that all debts are payable in gold and silver. This doesn't mean debts to the government. This means to each other. You're borrowing from the Treasury to pay your fellow man. It became your problem and your fault for using their reserves. So you've got to consider that Australia had a reserve tank and you emptied the fuel tank. And when the fuel tank was empty, your treasury, you ended up in the reserve. And you've been running on that reserve bank since 1959. So it's up to you as a people to start realising that this is a foreign legislating power that works on behalf of a banking system. And its main objective is to come and collect money off you. To hinder a policy enforcer, the police, is to hinder the collection of debt. Because that's what policy enforcement is. The enforcement of the payment of public debts. The English society do not have a police force. We have a sheriff's department. And our sheriffs are sitting on their asses taking the Admiralty Marshal line on behalf of the police. They collect your vehicles when you don't pay the debts. They come and reclaim your property when you don't pay the debts. And the funny thing about the debts is they were created by your government to enslave you to pay them off. And international bondage and slavery is now a real thing because your name is attributed to the bonds market. The Treasury is tied to the securities exchanges. And your whole country is a slave farm. And this government, the one that Attorney General Christian Porter went silent for, won't answer to the fact that it's committing war crimes. International bondage and slavery is a war crime. And then to use force to collect debts is a war crime. So using police and weapons to enforce state rule for the collection of debts is a war crime. A technical and actual war crime. So when you think about this government being a foreign power, stepping outside of its laws under The Hague and under the Geneva Conventions, as well as other treaties that it's taken on play, when you think about this government as a foreign power going against its treaties, it has committed war crimes. And we're talking on an international stage, which could mean that other members become involved, like President Trump. It's an unavoidable situation, given that Attorney General Christian Porter chose the route of silence. And not only silence, he told his entire staff not to talk to me. So Jackie Lambie, you're party to this now. You asked for us to step forward and you went silent. Attorney General Christian Porter, you went silent. So there's only one man now that can answer for all of you. The Governor General. And he's the one with the power to dissolve the whole lot of you. So he's the one that needs to be addressed. And unfortunate for Christian Porter, he was advised over a month ago that this would become a Hague issue. A war crime is a war crime, Christian Porter. And war crimes deserve to be reported to The Hague. That's the bottom line. I told you that I would start telling the people of Australia who you were. Because of your silence. You could have stood up, corrected us, shown us rule of law, and we would have been happy. We knew there was something wrong in our country. And your silence has shown us exactly who you are. You're what's wrong in this country. I don't mean that as a personal thing. I mean that as a government. In 1973, you all shut down the seat of government and started something foreign that shouldn't be here. It has no rule of law to be here. We found rule of law in the shrine, our temple. So if that doesn't have rule of law and shouldn't be here, is it time for it to leave? Think about that, everybody. It's time to put the silver in your hands. It's time to start thinking about what that Reserve Bank's doing to you as a nation. It's time to start thinking about what this government actually is if it shut down your seat of government in 1973. It's time to think about what that flag actually means. Okay, enjoy your day.